So today we read an article from Kelsey Mitchell, and it is a really, really good read. I'm not going to be talking about the whole thing. I'm just going to be talking about a small part of the article, and it is it's a really, really good article. It's about how her dad influenced her basketball career, and how obviously losing her dad earlier in this year affected everything, and some of the kind of personal things she had to go through during the WNBA season, which makes it even more impressive that she had the best season of her career. She was absolutely super this season, and yeah, it's a really, really good read, so I advise anyone to read that. But we are going to be just talking about the free agent portion of this. And I made a video yesterday basically saying that Amber Cox confirmed that Kelsey Mitchell was staying. And lads, Amber Cox is the GM. She is the GM. People were like, the Fever just wished her happy birthday. No, I'm not talking about this post. I don't care if the Fever wished her happy birthday. The GM said a special year ahead. The GM said that. If you guys don't know as well, Stephanie White has said that we are building around our big three of Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Aaliyah Boston. They are planning for an offseason building around those three. They have said as much. Kelsey Mitchell is, as far as the Indiana Fever are concerned, Kelsey Mitchell is going to be an Indiana Fever player next season. And the Indiana Fever can lock her down as far as contract is concerned. Obviously, you can never force a player to play for your team, but they can guarantee that she's under contract with Indiana Fever next season, which they are going to do. They are going to core her. Worst case scenario, she gets traded. And in the article, she does talk about being a free agent, and it seems like it sounds like, not that she's gone, but it sounds like she's going to test the waters. I highly, highly doubt that she's going to leave. I think if you're asking me for percentages, there is a 1% chance that she leaves. The only way I could see her maybe leave, you got to look at the situations. And you got to look at situations where, she is, as far as, Indiana's her home. She's closer to family in Indiana. It's not like she's from a big city or wants to go to a big market. Indiana's her home. If you look at teams with cap space, teams that have cap space, and she's not going to go to a tanking team. Teams that have cap space are the Wings if they lose Satu, the Sky, who are a terrible fit because her and Kennedy Carter will not be able to coexist. The Mystics, who are tanking. The Atlanta Dream, her and Ryan Howard aren't going to coexist. The Mercury have the cap space together, but Diana Taurasi staying. So I don't know what's going to happen there. But her and Kat Copper aren't a particularly good fit together. The Indiana Fever, the perfect fit for her on the court. And she again talked about how great all the players on the team were. And Seattle Storm don't have cap space. The Aces have cap space if they lose Kelsey Plum. And that is the one thing that might happen if she wants to get out of Indiana. And then there is a core for core, Kelsey for Kelsey trade, Kelsey Plum for Kelsey Mitchell. I don't see either team doing that. I don't see either player wanting to swap places, and I don't see either team doing that. And then the Connecticut Sun, no one knows what's happening with them. The Minnesota Lynx, no cap space, and the New York Liberty, probably not a fit, but I think they might actually have cap space together, but probably not a fit. So you're looking at, there's no team with cap space, and also when the Fever core her, it's going to have to be a trade package. One thing maybe is there could be some 3-team trade. If Satu wants to go to Indiana, if Mitchell wants to go somewhere else, they can probably facilitate some sort of 3-team trade where Dallas go and get themselves, let's just say hypothetically, Mitchell wants to go and play for Seattle. She wants to go play for Seattle. And you can maybe go and get yourself Seattle of Jewel Lloyd. She's not going to want to go there. I can't see a scenario where Mitchell leaves for basketball reasons. The only way she'll want to leave is if she can't handle the spotlight. But also, even though obviously she had to talk about how she doesn't condone the online trolls, but that's that's a line that every single player has to seems they have to say. We saw it in like the exit interviews. Like, it's not that it's not didn't affect her. It clearly did, but like it she wasn't too. Not that she wasn't too bothered by it. She knew the positives of the crowd there as well. She wasn't going to say anything about negative about the fans of her team, and that's the reality of the Kelsey Mitchell situation. Is that the Fever have talked about her staying. The GM posted yesterday about basically we're looking forward to next year. The GM can core Kelsey Mitchell and force her to stay. No one can force you to play, but they can force you to stay. So it's effectively a team option. If you have the ability to be cored, you effectively have a team option. So they have the team option on her, which they might be able to take, which they're probably going to take up. Unless Kelsey Mitchell really just wants to be out of the spotlight and she just wants to go and say, you know what, I'm cool with not being on a contender. I'm cool with not winning. Send me to Dallas. Send me to Dallas. Maybe Dallas, if they don't get Paige Beckers, can say, you know what, maybe we can go with Kelsey Mitchell and Enrique as our backcourt. Maybe we can just go and outscore teams. Maybe we can do something like that. Like, who knows? But at the same time, Kurt Miller's now their GM, so I don't think that's going to happen. I'm looking at teams that need a Kelsey Mitchell. Indiana need a Kelsey Mitchell. There's not a lot of other teams that need a Kelsey Mitchell. So I'm like, from a basketball standpoint, it makes no sense. And look, I think maybe just for her peace of mind, she probably wants to be a free agent, but like, there's no way she's not back in Indiana. There's not. And if she's not back in Indiana are going to get a ridiculous haul for her. Like, she is going to be traded for an all-star. The only situation where I'm like, maybe she could look at somewhere and think, okay, maybe I can just go and be my ISO self. Maybe she didn't like the playing off the ball. That's the only thing I can think of. But again, she made sure to have a paragraph about how much she loved Caitlin Clark as a teammate and how she hoped that the team helped her get through everything during the season. Like, so yeah, it's extremely unlikely. It is extremely, extremely unlikely she leaves the Fever. But yeah, she is talking about going into free agency. And it's weird, and Biasatu was saying it as well, like, acting like the core designation does not exist for players. So you're not technically a free agent. Like, if Satu says, I want to go to X team, they're probably going to send her to X team. But what they're going to do then is they're going to have to gut part of their team. And that's just the reality of it. So maybe there is some weird scenario where Satu's cored, someone else is cored, and and Kelsey Mitchell's cored, and they like swap. They do a swap for swap where it's like Indiana gets Satu, someone else gets Kelsey Mitchell, and Dallas gets somebody else. So that is the only thing I could see happening, but I doubt it. Or the straight up Kelsey Mitchell for Kelsey Plum trade, but I doubt that as well. Because I think almost certainly we're going to see the big three back in Indiana with Lexi Holt, the three, and somewhere to four, whether it's trying to get someone from overseas or what it is. But I think it is extremely, extremely unlikely she leaves. I put it at 1% she leaves. I think she is just interested in free agency, and like I don't see it. I really, really, really don't see it. Unless, of course, she just has reflected on the season and is like, you know what? We don't. It's not worth it. The extra fans, the extra money is not worth the outside noise. And that's fine. Like, if that's the reason for her not wanting to play in Indiana, that is perfectly fine. Look, it's not for everyone. Playing under the brightest of bright lights is not for everyone. I thought Kelsey Mitchell did a good job of it this season. If it turns out that's not what she wants to do, then more power to her. More power to her. I hope she goes somewhere else and has a really good year. Which, if you're a Chicago Sky fan, that basically writes off Chicago Sky, because the Chicago Sky have the same online trolling problems. So, yeah, I just don't know where she'd go. Like, teams that have cap room or a need for a Kelsey Mitchell are the Fever. Like, that is it. That's literally it. Every other team has a Kelsey Mitchell or doesn't have cap room. Like, the Lynx don't need a Kelsey Mitchell. They don't have cap room together either. The actually, you know what? We'll hide them in the thing on. The Lynx might have cap room, but they don't need a Kelsey Mitchell. The Liberty don't need a Kelsey Mitchell. The Sun, I think, are they don't. You know what? The Sun could want a Kelsey Mitchell, but they don't have the assets to get a Kelsey Mitchell. And why would you go to the Connecticut Sun? They don't even have their practice facility. The Aces don't need a Kelsey Mitchell. The Storm don't need a Mitchell. The Phoenix Mercury don't need Kelsey Mitchell. The Dream already have a Kelsey Mitchell and Ryan Howard. The Sky already have one in Kennedy Carter. The Wings already have one in Enrique. The Sparks, might do with her, I guess. The Valkyries could do with her. But, yeah, there's like a 1% chance she's gone. Especially because Amber Cox, the GM, literally said yesterday, we can't wait for next year. And last week or 2 weeks ago, Stephanie White literally spoke about how they're building around Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark, and Leah Boston. Unless something is drastically changed, she's going to be staying. And for Fever fans, if she goes, it's not going to be, if she wants to leave, it's not going to be that a negative thing. I think that any player on the Fever who doesn't want to deal with the circus has the right to leave. Like, you only want players there that can deal with that, because that's going to be an important part of playing with Caitlin Clark. And its reality situation is, if you just don't want to do that, it's fine. That's completely fine. And Kelsey Mitchell was unbelievable last season and has been a fantastic player for the Fever for the last 7 years. So if she does go, it's not the end of the world. Especially because if she does go, she's not going to go for free. Like, you're going to have to trade for her. She's going to be cored. You're going to have to trade for her. She's not going anywhere for free. And they're probably going to get another All-Star back for her, with the way the Fever are. Either that, or who knows? Who knows? Maybe you could get like a number 2 or 3 pick for her. If I just say if Washington want to give that up and they're really big for her. Maybe. But either way, yeah, I highly doubt she leaves. Unless she's had a complete change of heart about the whole outside noise and the whole like crazy fandom, she's going to be staying. But she could have had a change of heart with that. You never know.